7:03 on Wednesday, August 21st. Historically cool for August this morning, 54 degrees. We are going into the 70s today. Good morning, I'm John Aaron, and the weather gets a fist pump from John Domen.
Absolutely. I am John Domen with the top local stories we're following this hour. The district kicking off a new effort to bring the Commanders football team back into the city. WTOP's Luke Lukert has the latest on what the city's new game plan could include.
The city has quietly hired a firm that handles entertainment facilities management. Their task is to look into how the stadium would be built and paid for at the old RFK site, and even if it's feasible to do it there. It's according to the Washington Business Journal. The LA-based company will draw up the concept of what a new stadium would look like and assess on how to fund it. The contract, worth just over $500,000, was awarded without a competition back in June. It's the same month the city released a report on possible benefits of a new NFL stadium. That contract also suggests the Bowser administration would consider at least partially funding the new stadium. Luke Luger, WTOP News.
Today, doors open for nearly 50,000 students in Frederick County, Maryland schools, and there's going to be some changes implemented in the school system there. One key possibility, the Frederick School Board will discuss changing start times with no school starting before 8 a.m. Remote learning will now be a thing of the past for 3rd through 8th graders because of budget cuts. Montgomery County Public Schools also says it's doing away with its virtual learning program entirely. Stay with WTOP and WTOP.com for updates on what you need to know for back to school.
There will be at least one debate in the most expensive U.S. Senate race that Maryland has ever seen. Former Governor Larry Hogan and Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks will take the stage October 10th at the Maryland Public Television Studios in Owings Mills. That afternoon event will be moderated by NBC News political analyst Chuck Todd. The Baltimore Sun says it'll air later that night on the local NBC stations in D.C. and Baltimore.
Some top Virginia politicians are speaking out about the race for the White House. They talked to our Nick Iannelli.
The enthusiasm and excitement about a campaign matters.
Virginia Democratic Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger acknowledges that she was getting worried when President Biden was still in the race and polling showed him either tied with or even trailing former President Trump by a few points in Virginia.
The idea that the former president could be on his way back to the White House was deeply concerning.
Things have shifted now that Biden's out, with new polling in Virginia showing Kamala Harris ahead of Trump by 3 points. But that's close, within the margin of error. Virginia Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin.
Virginia has just been a very tight election state for the last few years. The elections have all been determined on a razor-thin margin. I do think it'll be a very, very tight election.
Nick Iannelli, WTOP News.
We have some really expensive zip codes around here, but 3 of them really stand out for their cost. 20816, 20015, and 22066. WTOP's Mike Murillo takes a deeper look.
And the 3 zip codes we just mentioned in Maryland, Virginia, and D.C. are more expensive to get a typical home in than that L.A. neighborhood. According to the business journals, you'll spend anywhere from $1.3 to above $1.5 million in those spots.
Single-family houses tend to be much higher than that in those neighborhoods.
So the price is no surprise to realtor John Coleman with the Jason Martin Group. He says whether it's in the Great Falls, Bethesda, or Northwest neighborhoods,
those are the areas where people can feel like they're still connected to the city, but be far enough out where they get a little bit of that suburb type of vibe.
They have lots of green space, too. In his Coffee with Coleman home tours, he says in the D.C. neighborhood.
I shot a home just recently where you could walk out the door and walk into Rock Creek Park within like 30 seconds.
Mike Murillo, WTOP News.
And coming up,
it's the 20th anniversary of a Household Names IPO. I'm Jeff Clable.
Traffic and weather in 30 seconds.